Hey everyone, this is Alexander Storm, and I'm with, as usual,
Dr. Brantley.
and the retrospect is coming to you now. If you haven't watched the Halloween retrospects that we did, was on some of the classic monsters, then go over to the YouTube channel and watch them, and let us know what we thought of those, and let us know if you enjoyed it or not, or we right or wrong. It's always a topic of debate. But as of the retrospect, our main motto is we watch the film so you don't have to, but it's our hope that you will. Now we're going to do something different. We're moving into a festive season. It's Christmas. You'll notice that our studios, which mine is as low budget as we are here at the retrospect, everything just Rudolph and a couple of stockings. But obviously, Dr. Brentley is spending Christmas in Connecticut, so so definitely. And I was not going to wear the hat. I refused to wear the hat. So. Stockings, Rudolph, you get it. Rudolph's wearing a hat, so if you needed a hat. We're going to run off the Christmas comedy films. And this week, we're going to run down everyone's hopefully classics. Now, again, the show is a debatable show. We talk on film discussions. If you happen to think that we're off and everything, let us know in the comments. I'm sure that we're going to miss some, but these were the ones that we felt essentially this time of the year that you should actually be watching and enjoying with your family and your friends, and hopefully laughing, maybe a little crying too, whatever it is. But hopefully you enjoy this. So we're going to run down our top slate tonight. Most of these are PG, but there's some that the kiddies might not be able to sit through. So our run up tonight is going to be A Christmas Story, 1983. Then we're going to go Scrooged, 1988. We're going to have a Christmas Vacation, 1989. That's going to take us to Home Alone, 1990. And then we're going to run into Bad Santa. That's the one that the kids probably should
Not
be
for the
watching.
children.
Elf, 2003. And then we're going to end it with Christmas with the Kranks, 2004. So we've got normally I know we like to do 4 films. Every now we do 5 films, but these, we just said these were the ones we just had to cut. So we're going to give each one of them as much time as possible. Hopefully we'll get some insight to them that'll make you actually want to go back and watch those. But, this is why we're doing a Christmas special, is that you have the point of debating. Maybe we've got this wrong. But let's start off with A Christmas Story. Now, I do know this is one of Dr. Brentley's favorites. And
Yes.
I had never watched this movie. I had heard about it, but it never quite ever interested me until we started coming up with this list for the Christmas Story comedies. And you basically said to me, no, this has to go on the list, because initially I did not have it on the list because it's never on my radar. So, Dr. Brentley, since you love this film so much and everything, why? Why do you love it so much?
First of all, I'm old enough I saw this in a theater when it came out.
All right.
And then about, 10, 15 years later, Ted Turner decided that they would just start playing this 24 hours a day on all his stations at Christmas. And that's really where I think it came out of obscurity. But I always loved this movie. Kid wants a BB gun for Christmas. His mom says, no, you'll shoot your eye out. It's not a good gift. And he does everything he can to make sure he's going to talk to his teacher. Maybe she'll get on his side and talk to his mom. He's going to write a letter to Santa, going to talk to him at the store. He's doing all these different things that he can do. And it is a quest, really. And all the things that a 10-year-old has to go through in their life around Christmas time.
We'll say
terrible presents.
He has a very vivid imagination, because I know this BB gun.
Yes.
I relied a scene where he's imagining getting the BB gun and shooting criminals with the BB gun, and he gets basically breaking into his house. And as I started sitting, I said, okay, this is a little wild, right? First of all, it has a tripped out part of narration that starts the movie. and he's narrating from an older point of view, kind of a la the Wonder Years a little bit.
That's where they stole it from. Yeah.
I happen to love the fact is that even as an adult, as he's reliving the story, he will not say the magic F word that he uses. He uses a different term. But if he's relying from that from being an adult, well, just say the word. But obviously, it would be a Christmas movie. He used that one word in it for family and friends. But I thought it was interesting that even as an adult, he censored the word as he's telling the story. I always wondered where they, I've seen the fascination with this, the lake lamp and some of these. I had always wondered where did they come from, and now I see this movie, and I'm like, okay, now I get it. The house I know is extremely famous. It's always I don't know what city it's in, but I do know that it's constantly visited, and there's a lot of people taking pictures and everything. I know there was a big problem years ago. So it's in, obviously this movie is adored. Um, it's it's interesting because BB guns was anything that we didn't play with. So I didn't understand the fascination with the BB gun. He's like, he's got to have, but I think a 10-year-old child is this item that he just so desperately wants. And
Well,
yes, we're going to
also a
ruin
kid
the
in the
end.
1950s who's, the
Sure.
heroes are cowboys,
Yeah, Roy
right? So,
Rogers and all the rest of them.
mhm.
Hmm. Now, I did love the fact is that there's a point towards the end, and we're going to ruin some of this. So, but go back and watch it. He's sleeping with the gun. He's in the bed holding on to it. It's like he has his precious jewel that he's worked so hard for. But there's there's fist fighting. There's a lying accusation that's made. There's all kind of things in this movie for a 10-year-old, and the dreaded curse word that his father, as he was changing the
Mhm.
tires, you know.
There's triple dog dares.
Yes, there's a
This
neighbor with
is
crazy amounts of dogs next door. Is like,
yeah, the bumpuses.
there's there's some complete jackass that gets lured into putting his tongue on a frozen pole, and I thought, yeah, that's. They said, oh, but they triple dog dare you. Well, he had to do something that stupid. It's like, no, no, no. And there's a warning, an editor put it in the bottom. Please, please, for the love of God, don't do this if you live in a cold state. Don't do this. But it has the wonderment of a child that's seen through his eyes. It's a I appreciate it for what it was because again, I had never seen this movie. It had never been on my radar. I had heard about it, but it wasn't anything that interests me until you said, "No, we absolutely have to put this on." So, but I watched it. I thought it was fun. It wasn't one of my favorite Christmas movies, but if it came on again, and I wasn't like we didn't do it for the retrospect, I would watch it again. I thought it was fun. It doesn't hold up to some of the other magic of certain films as well, but I understand
Oh,
why it's a favorite for certain people.
yeah, I disagree because I think there's so many classic movie lines in
Yeah.
this, and just visuals. Like the leg lamp is one of the
Hmm.
things
Hmm.
that will outlast this movie.
Oh
Probably,
yeah. Yeah.
people will have that in their homes. I know a guy that bought one, and
I've seen a bunch of people
there's
do that too, and I always wondered what the heck is that from. And I've gone to like people's houses, and they're like, now I know. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, I don't know.
fragile. Oh, it must be Italian. No, no, it says
and,
fragile.
and I think there's even a point where they like because it's 1983 and there's a different world, a different time, and like how people were all viewed and everything else. I love the aspect where he uses like basically not PG terms to describe people, but it's also them having the dinner at the Chinese restaurant and everything. I thought to myself, like, okay, it's 1983, but it's the magic in it that does it makes it harmless. It's not so much where it's something where I think like it's not an a la Gone with the Wind where everybody wants to remove certain situations and things like that. I thought it was kind of human. It's interesting. It dives back to our mind frame from those eras, and but it's quaint. It's humorous. Again, Ralphie is now permanently burnt into my memory, and It is, I would say, I know why it's a Christmas classic. It has enough moments and everything. And it also has one of my favorite things because chances are we will probably not get to work for Disney now, but when Mickey gets beaten up. That's like one of my favorite parts and everything. I was like, oh, that's happening right now. I wondered if that was actually re-edited in. I said that's a special edition version. But no, that's a legitimate Mickey, old school getting beat down. So it's any parting words for a Christmas story, my friend?
I love it. Uh, I understand why you can put it on a loop at Christmas. It's one of those movies that doesn't matter when you walk into it. If it's on TV, you can sit down and watch it for 10, 20 minutes and then move on. But you can pretty much just catch it at any point in the movie. Uh, it's wonderful.
Yeah, well, it was a first time watching it. It was experience. It will probably be experience that I will do again. I
It
again, it
gets
was fun.
better the more you watch it. It's one
I'm
of
sure it
those,
does. I'm
you
sure it
know.
does. It did. As I watched it the first time, it did grow on me a little bit more. There was humorous moments, and again, we're looking from a story from like a like our show, the retrospect. Someone's actually retrospecting their Christmas back as a 10-year-old child, and I thought the self dialogue between the younger version is the things he was doing, and the older reflecting was also the thing that kind of draws you in because as you get to be adult, and since we're doing the Christmas comedy movies and everything, as you get to be adult, you start looking back on certain things. You're like, your memory's phasing on it. It's like, should I have done that really? And that's the exact same self reflection that he's doing. It's like, maybe I would have handled this a little bit better. But, it's like the innocence of a 10-year-old child. It's like, I think if the world saw itself through that, it'd be a much, much better, less complicated place. So, Christmas Story, one of the Christmas comedy films that you must have to watch, 1983. But we're going to move into one that I know a lot of people fall on the fence due to the title actor. Either you can love him or you can hate him, and there's really the people that love him and there's the people that hate him. But Scrooged, 1988, Mr. Bill Murray. It is a retelling of A Christmas Carol, but yet so diminutely changed that it becomes its own feature. So it just is, if you're looking for like, the classic Christmas Carol and they're like, oh, Ebenezer Scrooge and the rest of the things, you're not going to get this. This is completely thrown against the
Not
wall
true,
and at it.
because he's a TV executive that's putting on A Christmas Carol. So you do get A Christmas Carol, all the ghosts and Tiny Tim, the TV version that we all know, and then you get the retelling modern day ones.
And you have antlers that he wants to be stapled onto rats' heads. Just for the extra point and everything. I was like, I know just a PETA exec, like, oh my lord. But Bill Murray, he's a TV executive. He's going to do this huge production of A Christmas Carol. But yet, it is, if anything, like the 80s. It is flamboyantly mixed a little bit of pop culture. It has a little bit of risque. It's what you would do for network television in the 80s.
Well, and he's making them do it live on Christmas
Yes.
Eve, so
Yes.
everyone is missing their Christmas.
Yeah. I think the ghost in these movies that come back and haunt him are the true allure. Now, Bill Murray's like, again, love him or hate him. There's movies where he is like, obviously he's the problem with films, and then there's ones where he is like the best thing. This is one where he does not overtake it. I think mostly the ghost almost overshadow him because they're so well done and so completely different than anything we've seen, that it makes it a little bit more entertaining. It's like Bill Murray is basically stalked, tortured, dragged through every kind of scenario that he can be due to the classic, you have to scare the executive into trying to be a good human being. And I will spoil this for people. it works. It works. But there are certain moments. There's great moments in it. Bill Murray has that way of doing it. There's certain times where, as much of a comedic actor, there are moments where he can do like drama and really pull out some emotions, and it just, it's heartfelt into it. That's the thing. It's like a switch that he can pull, you know,
Yeah,
and
the love story in this with Karen Allen, and you see how he was when they were younger and
mhm,
going out, and then you see what actually made the switch, and they lost and fell out of love with each
mhm,
other. And yeah, that is so well done too, because you actually feel like I
mhm.
understand what he's doing, but he's up his life, you know.
Exactly.
And
I think that's in order to do a good comedy right, there has to be moments of realism that comes through. From all the laughs and everything, there has to be some form of a moment of, like, like I would say more or less a painful memory. Because I think with comedy you can't have just laughter. I think it has to be, a lot of times there's a lot of pain from that people glance over and laugh. And I think his relationship with his nephew, who seems very quirky as well, and that's just kind of funny being in the Bill Murray movie. Uh, and it's Christmas is usually the time that a lot of people reflect and they start thinking about those things. I think Christmas Carol is one of these type of, like, topics that people do. They think about the things in the past. They think about situations, should have, could have, would have. And Scrooge does it in a way that's lighthearted, yet also brings you down to a gentle point of, it's not about the presents. It's not about the big production that's happening. Not about stapling antlers to rodents' heads and everything. It's about your family, your friends, the loved ones. It's a time for reflection. And he just, at the end, where they kind of like cut into production, they just stop the production or so, and he just has a real moment. That's when it's like it pulls it all together, all the zaniness and everything else, so that gives you a clear and beautiful message that you're left with. And it's just classic, Bill Murray. He just does a great job with this film, man.
now, again, obviously, I'm old enough, and I did see this one in a theater. Now, to me, that ending, where he essentially breaks the fourth wall and starts talking
Yes.
to the audience,
Hmm.
it did not work in my theater.
Oh, okay.
Nobody started singing, nobody was clapping. We
Mhm.
all watched it, but nobody joined in the Christmas revelry. And to me, that also kind of breaks the movie. I would have been very happy if it had just ended with them having a kiss and fading out, you know? They didn't need all the extra sing along with the audience kind of bit.
Let me tell you, that's classic Bill Murray. He's going to take it one step too far sometimes. And, now the difference is I did see this in the theater as well. The fourth wall moment works in my theater. So it was,
Well,
I probably just went to a more festive theater. That's probably just what happened. Which I'm trying to think, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was like the Manhattan Six in Manhattan Beach, California, out here. So we're from California, so that was, I
that
believe it was that.
would, if look, if that's where it was playing, that's probably where I would have seen
I
it as well.
I
We just got
think so.
very
So
different
the
audiences.
audience reactions, and maybe I saw it mostly close to, like, maybe Christmas, and people were feeling it. Maybe you saw it like right teetering the point where it was just like, oh, let's go to see this movie. It's not a date movie. I will tell you that. So maybe
I don't know
maybe you
about
saw
that. I
maybe you saw it
because
at the
you can
wrong
see
time.
all the things that will go wrong with your relationship, and maybe you can fix them before they happen.
Yeah, but that's the reason why it's not a date movie. Breakup movie. Maybe that's why your audience. Maybe people had enough time to sit in the theater and reflect themselves, like, why am I doing this with this person next to me? Maybe that's what happened in your theater. But the people that I was in the theater with loved one another.
But this is also a Richard Donner movie,
Yes.
which he's not known for big comedies, more like The Lethal Weapon and Superman. But this is amazing. Like, I don't know what it was, but they worked well together because it's just a very well constructed movie and very funny all the way through.
Yeah, and again, there's extremely laughable moments. And again, like you said, self reflection and everything else like that. But Bill Murray is essentially the lead funny man, but he's outdone by his ghost because the ghosts are taking
Well,
him through a rompage, brother.
yeah, well, so we got Buster Poindexter as the cabbie ghost, which is a great way to do the past. Carol Kane as
Yep.
the ghost of present, who is just hitting him left
I
and
would say
right
the
the
Ghost
entire
of Christmas
time.
Punishment. That's what it seemed like.
Yes.
What was it?
And then, of course, the there is no person; it's just the big cloak
Mhm.
guy, Death. But also, you've got Bobcat Goldthwait
Yep.
as
Mhm.
the fired worker who's coming back for revenge, who is fantastic.
Yeah, there are
Just
there are so many great moments, and I think it's like I said, if you're used to watching like the standard Christmas Carol, and you think that you've figured out how it's supposed to happen, and okay, Ebenezer Scrooge going to wake up on Christmas Day, he's going to change his heart and everything. This is a more modern take on it, and it makes the older, drier versions that you've probably seen 50 times a little bit more tolerable to your palate. So uh, it's the reason why we put it on. Bill Murray makes us laugh. Scrooge, just one of the films. If you haven't seen it, we're telling you to watch it. So like I said, I know the audience just have to do what we say, but watch it. So
do
that's
it.
going to move us into one of the films that I kind of think it's hard to say that there is a number one that you watch every year that's just like clockwork, and you're like, no, 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 no. This one is, and it's such a zany film that it's relatable to your Christmas experience. And this is 1989's Christmas Vacation, and a la Chevy Chase, another Saturday Night alumni, take on Christmas. This movie, I thought the original Vacation was a great film. It's hilarious. It's probably one of, if it's not your top 100 films of comedies of all time, it definitely needs to be in there. I think this is the only sequel that's really worthy to watch from the Vacation films, because this one is absolutely getting the same energy that the original film, Vacation, gave. It's like, look, Chevy Chase is on point with this movie, and the family and the drama and the Christmas and everything. It's just a fun movie, and it's my number one when it comes on every year. It's like I've got to watch Christmas Vacation, and like you said with A Christmas Story, the endless loop. You can go through moments of this
Yeah,
film and keep repeating itself
you
and keep
can
watching it.
you can put this on at any point and start watching it. I
Mhm.
mean, they're going to get a Christmas tree. They're going to get, do the shopping,
Mhm.
having the family over, the annoying neighbors. There's all the things, the annoying family members that come over unannounced.
Yeah, everything goes wrong in Clark Griswold's life, and it all culminates either in the desert scene in the original movie or at his own home. Like he can't win in this movie, and it's just I love the two snobby kind of like well, I guess new age modern neighbors that he has that constantly just get nothing for Christmas. They are just the type of people that are just, you could just tell, like, these are not the neighbors you want living right next door to you. They're so, like, stiff and shallow. and he's just over exuberant with it. He's trying so hard, and I think we all know this, to make Christmas great for everyone else. There's just one catastrophe after another catastrophe, and it's so relatable in a very funny way. This was again, out of the vacation films and all the sequels, this is the worthy one where you're like, they were on point with this, and you're thinking to yourself like, look, they should have probably stopped with this one, but you and I both know that that was not the case.
Not while they're still making money. But yeah, if you didn't have a father like this, you knew somebody with a father like this that's trying way too hard and just trying to get everything just right. So it's like, I'm going to make sure the family has the best Christmas ever. We're going to remember this one for years. And no matter what you do, it's always something's going to go wrong, and you just have to accept that, or you will go crazy like Clark does. Every movie, every vacation movie, it's like he
Yeah.
tries to do the best, and he just tries so hard, and there's a point where he's like, oh, that's it.
Mhm.
All you guys. No. This is going down my way now.
And I think we all have had been at that moment. I think, the moment where just a snap goes, it's like that's it. It's
He
over
is
with.
one of the most relatable
Yes.
characters in film, I think, just
Mhm.
because you try so hard on some things and it goes wrong and you lose your shit. That
Mhm.
is that is the plot progression of every vacation movie.
But this one again, it's just as, I wouldn't say as good as the original, but it's a very good film in the series that makes harkens back to the original
Yes.
film, and you can see the
Yes.
magic in it and everything. And they just do this in. He doesn't have to go across country to Wally World or anything. He just can be at home, and this chaos can happen to him. We're between his house and the neighbors around him. So it's one of my favorites. Every year it's on, I watch it. I think it was one of those films where they use the term instant classic. It is an instant
Yeah.
classic. They nailed this. And
Yeah.
look, the studio has made money on this film year in and year out, and will continue to do that as well because they nailed this one,
And again, saw it in a theater.
man. Yeah, that's gonna
Lucky
be tough.
enough, because look, there was a time in my life somewhere between the mid '80s and the mid 2000s where pretty much saw all the major movies that came
Yes.
out that I was interested
Hmm.
in a theater. Don't do
Hmm.
that so much anymore, but I was very lucky. Also, very unlucky to have seen a ton of terrible movies
Oh
in the
yes.
theater, and you're stuck there for 2 hours, going like,
Mhm.
"Oh my god, what? I should have seen that other one."
Yeah, and it's always like, yeah, I can't believe I paid for this. But if you're at home and watching on streaming, you paid for it too. So it doesn't really matter where you saw it and everything. I think being in the theater is just the experience. I think that's the reason why we do this, is that there's certain experiences that we've had in these films that shaped our careers and what we think of as films, and that are good or bad. And I think one of the key essentials is that, we're not seeing films in theaters as much anymore. So that's now, it's like, people are now with their home theater systems, which, let's be honest, some of them are as good as theaters too. That whole THX thing, ding, 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 is working,
Better
it's
than some
working.
theaters I've been
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. Let's put it like this: unless you're just a complete slob, your feet's not sticking to the floor at your house. I would hope not. You know, but you got front row, no one's sitting in front of you, and everything. It works itself out. But some of these films, I'm kind of hark back though. I do wish that maybe like the theater owners and chains would start recognizing that, maybe having holiday films play in theaters, just so as a family member and audience they could go back and sit in the theaters and get like a different kind of experience.
It yeah. Now they are re-releasing Die Hard
Mhm.
in theaters,
and
but this
and
is
if you don't
something.
think that's a Christmas movie, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yes. But they should be doing that all the time. Like I
Yes.
would do that all year long. It's like, yeah, during summer, it's like we have all the new summer blockbusters, but hey, let's also have some of the ones from years gone by.
Mm-hmm.
And, and show all these things that is a good movie. And it's like, you know what, instead of going to see the 80th X-Men movie, maybe I'll go and see actually one that I know I like.
Yeah, and I think it's guaranteed that you'll have a good time. You know, sometimes when you go in these theaters, you don't know if the film's bad. It shapes your experience. But these, tried, true, and tested. And so, maybe we'll start seeing it. Maybe some theater owners watching the retrospect and he decides, hey, that's a pretty smart idea. We rarely ever get those out in the world, though. But let's just say, for instance, it does happen. It would be nice to see that. So, like I said, we're gonna kiss Chevy Chase goodbye, and we're gonna roll into I would have to say the most repeated lines from a movie. The I would probably say, if I would put in a category, the two worst parents that ever walked the face of the planet. This movie represents that. And I love the way in 1990 we can laugh about this situation, but technically there's no laughing matter. But the movie is Home Alone, 1990. And yes, someone leaves their child at home and goes
If it
across
was
the
made
country.
today, it would be called Child Protective Services.
Look, first of all, if there's a child actor that was probably the definition of child actor, it would be Macaulay Culkin. He's like, I think he's
Not since
mostly
Shirley
known.
Temple,
Yes,
you
I
know.
would put that on the same category. Like, people see him and they look. God help Mr. Calkin. I'm sure that he's walked in some place and somebody's repeated that line a million times to him. But it's better to be remembered than to be forgotten. And he will always live on with Home Alone, no matter how old he is now. The people still see him as that little kid that's basically killing Joe Pesci. Because the stunts that he did, this is not like like elementary kind of stuff. Like he's like bowling balls and coming down the stairs and like there's physical damage being done to these guys. Of course, they deserve it. They break into
Well,
a house they think is going to be gone.
as an older man now, seeing the stuff that this little bastard does to these guys, like wetting down and freezing the steps. It's like if I slipped down the steps like that, oh, my back would be gone. I wouldn't be able to get up for like 30 minutes. Uh, he is awful, this kid. Now, sure, they're breaking in. They're going to try and steal all their stuff, and they threaten the little kid. But
Hmm.
you know,
Oh, believe me, this is different beyond threatening. Like they want to do physical harm to this child. And look, we failed to mention that this is one of those films from a great writer director that let's be honest. I think John Hughes is one of the few people that can just give a narrative on. If you had to say, like, who's the perfect person to sum up like most of the films in the '80s and just heartwarming moments, it would be John Hughes. And I know he's gone, and the shame of it is we won't have films done because I don't think that this sort of film is being done now. I don't think that there's people readily out there making movies that have lightweighted moments, but also bring you back in and really appreciate for all the chaos and everything else, like the family, the friends, and everything. And I think that this film, with the track where the mother realizes the mistake that she's made, and obviously the thing that says a lot of this is the mother realized it because the father was like, "Hey, what's going on?" How they get in the car and it's like, "Oh, this child's missing." We don't know, but um, it's her quest to go cross country to get back to find her son. It's heart wrenching, and it's also just it brings the light of, like, how much parents really do care for you. through all the thick and thin. But they tested him. Look, they did. Now you also got to give them credit because he didn't learn all this stuff on his own. He just had to be taught this too.
Well, look, there's a lot going on here because, first of all, Kevin is a little brat, and
Yes.
he does kind of need to be spanked or punished or some other thing to get him in line. But also, his entire family is awful as well. They
Oh
are
yes.
terrible to him. They
Mhm.
treat him awfully. And it is just like terrible people raising a terrible kid. And the only way he's redeemed is that there's someone even worse trying to break into their house.
But see, that's
uh,
just the magic of John Hughes, though. Is that the thing that he's able to do is take a moment and basically have you like on the pins and needles, and then he pulls you through this emotional roller coaster to tie it all up.
well, now see, I will say this did not get me on any kind of an emotional level
Really?
because the way that this movie is done, they do the fourth wall breaking all the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
He runs up to the camera screaming, ah! He's, looks into the camera and says, I made my parents disappear, you know, uh, all these things. So it just takes it away. You're watching a movie. He knows he's in a movie talking to us in the audience. And so when you do that, to me, that just breaks any of the actual emotional heartstring
Now,
kind of stuff.
this is where we're going to have our argument because all he essentially did was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and you love
Yes.
Matthew
And
Broderick in that.
I have absolutely no emotional investment
Really?
in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's
Oh.
funny, but I don't believe the character. I don't care about what's going cuz he's another one. He is a brat. He is a self-indulgent kid that is getting his way through life by around, and everyone else gets caught but he gets away with it,
Well, see,
so
not
John Hughes must have had a wonderful life because he writes all these characters that just are really not great but somehow manages to make them beloved classic characters.
what we're gonna have to do is I'm sure we're gonna have to do a John Hughes retrospect now. That's just gonna serve us odd, which God knows it probably won't be just 3 or 4 movies, unfortunately. All right, well, like it's okay now. We found out that like I said, John Hughes. All right, I got that. We're gonna respect that. Like I said, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be like, "How dare you, Doctor Brentley?" But we've got that now. So now, like I said again, we're rounding out the numbers, man. We're coming into, like they say, sliding into home. Now we're gonna go for dueling comedies. One heartfelt and emotional, and one just raw and raunchy. So we're gonna take the low road less traveled, and we're gonna go raw and raunchy first. We're gonna do Bad Santa 2003. Oh, let me tell you something. Just when you thought Billy Bob Thornton's career was over with, he does this movie, and he totally changes Christmas forever. If there is one of the films on our list that you should not have the kids sit do and watch, this is it. This is like
No.
we're gonna have to put a child warning that comes on the screen. Do not watch this film without parent supervision, and even then, you should watch this film. Bad Santa is look. There's just a raw emotion. It's about if there's anybody at the bottom of the barrel, and Christmas usually brings it out. My man is at the bottom of the barrel. They ran and I do mean every form of a joke that you could possibly do and change it from a point where it's like something that could be wholesome, but so easily manipulated into something completely way different. His sidekick is absolutely, well, I would say business partner, let's put it like this, is absolutely hilarious. His interaction with the children, it's just he's just a guy that just no longer care, and it takes him through one and the other. But Billy Bob Thornton is fantastic in this movie. And again, this was at a point where we thought his career had taken like a setback and a turn, and he does this film, and you're like, wow, like I didn't expect this in him, but it's look, this Santa does, and when the term "bad Santa," it's absolutely look. I love films with simplistic titles that give away what it's supposed to be. This was not a kind of okay Santa, or maybe a super upset Santa, or a really good Santa. No, 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 no. This is bad Santa, and every possible interaction that he does, there is sex and violence. There's cursing. There's all
Well,
forms of mannerism,
they created
inappropriate
an
work
entire
relationships. You
well, they
know,
created an entire genre because
yes.
after this, now there was bad teacher, bad grandpa, and so they can put bad in front of any particular thing, and you know exactly what you're going to get. It's like, oh, this is somebody in this position that is very, very bad at that
Mhm,
position,
mhm.
whether it's Santa or teaching your children or being a grandfather.
And like you said,
But
it's heavily influenced by some of these earlier films. I know we've had uh, Silent Night, and that's going to be another retrospect that we're going to do on action films. But he's essentially trying to do an action version of Billy Bob Thornton's Bad Santa. So it's like, I guess the best form of flattery is for people to basically imitate. And like they just cannot get this right after Bill. Like he's wrecked the genre. Like you're really going to need a top notch actor to come in and do another film towards this that's in the same kind of genre, because right now he has there's the Jimmy Stewarts, there's the Cary Grants, and we watch all these beautiful, nice holiday films, and there's Billy Bob Thornton, and he's in a class all by
well,
himself.
not entirely. I will say that I've seen one other actor do a Santa that is as disgusting as this, and that is Dan Aykroyd in Trading Places.
Well,
When
but it wasn't
but
a
he's
whole
not doing
film
it the
work.
whole thing.
He's not
But
doing a whole film. He
when
has
he's
a
dressed
great
as
moment.
Santa,
Well,
he
yeah,
is awful.
but but Billy Bob and Bad Santa did everything that an HR manager would basically have a heart attack over. It's like he
And
essentially just destroys the mall and everything and all this surroundings around him. He just runs havoc everywhere he is in this movie, and that's what makes the film so
uh,
entertaining.
yeah, and the amazing cast with him: Bernie Mac as the store detective, John Ritter as the store manager.
Mhm.
You know,
And two actors that are
um,
passed away before their time. They were like
yeah,
each one of them were fantastic, and when I think that's the beautiful aspect about this, about being trapped on the films, is that there's going to be audiences that's going to be able to go and see these two incredibly actors, and knowing that they're not around, and it may lead people back to see their work. And with a Christmas film, it's playing once. You look, once some part during the year, you're going to watch Bad Santa. You sit back, laugh at everything, and you'll see these two individuals' performances, and there will always be there.
hmm
That's the beautiful thing about
yes,
and for
uh,
John Ritter to be in this movie, that really kind of wasn't the kind of things that he did, but it just works so right. Bernie Mac, this is the key essential Bernie Mac. It's
well, also, but I think it's because John Ritter also worked with Billy Bob on Sling Blade.
true,
So
true.
they knew each other. But also Tony Cox, who is
Hmm,
his little assistant and
hmm.
partner in crime,
Hmm. Who
and
is
also
who is funny in this movie, man? He's equally as bad as
and
Bad Santa.
yes, also him and his Asian girlfriend are
Mhm. Yeah.
brutal because they spoiler alert, when they take out Bernie Mac, it is awful. It's like I have to go back a couple of times.
I I was almost shocked that they never did like a maybe like a spinoff called like Bad Elf or something, because yeah, I would have went to the theater and saw that because like again, there's so many talented people that were wrapped around this
Mhm.
movie that makes the whole thing work and like and it's I think it felt like Billy Bob was key to opening to let the other people around him just do them, and I think you get the best material when because there's like there's so many great scenes, so many great scenarios. You're laughing from beginning to end, and it's one of those films where like they tell you the titles, the Bad Santa. Like you sit there, it's like Bad Santa. Like again, it's not so okay Santa. It's not really great Santa. It's like it's Bad Santa, and you're getting a guy that just does not care anymore. He loses every he's alcoholic, he's inappropriate. Again, everything an HR manager would never want to have represented for them. He is a total nightmare of that. But it's a fun movie.
And see,
It's
now this to me, that is genuine heartwarming at the end.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
you know, and it's because you totally invest in the story. They're not breaking out of the story that they're telling.
Hmm.
That's
Sure.
that's the thing that I just don't like about the fourth
But the
wall
fourth
break
wall. Hmm.
is because then as soon as I do that,
Hmm.
then all illusion is broken. If you can't, buy into just this story, as soon as you do that, then it's like, oh, well, yeah, he knows who's making a movie and this is all fake.
Well, and that may be also something for a point of reflection on us too, is seeing like the fourth wall in the films. Because yes, it's one of those things that they teach you rarely ever do with Screwed Right. It's the fourth wall because it's just sometimes it's no coming back from it. It's those moments that stick with people. And it's the one where like, oh, the movie's going to be good up until he turned to face the camera. And it's like, I know they always want to do that. The audience is kind of in on it kind of thing. And, but it so rarely ever works. It's like over narration. They always tell you, like, if you're writing a script, as little narration as possible, because it's rarely ever done right, and the
Hmm.
few occasions that it is, well, that's why they're great films,
Well,
but it's a crutch.
yeah, well, you do something like Forrest Gump, right?
Hmm.
Where
Hmm.
he is speaking directly to the audience and the people on the bench with him, but he's not like directly speaking to
Hmm.
the audience in the theater. And it's just well done, and it actually informs the storytelling back and forth.
So pretty much what we're saying is, if you're not Robert Zemeckis, for God's sakes, don't do the fourth
Don't
wall.
do it.
Just don't, for God's sakes. If you're Robert Zemeckis, you can do it. If you're not, don't do the fourth wall. That's all we're saying. So again, with that, we're going to have to jump off and everything. Now we said we were in the same year, same movies. We couldn't debate because one movie is a raunchy film that did well in the box office. One movie crushed the box office, and it brought us an individual that basically has never left us, and that's Will Ferrell in Elf, and also the great Mr. John Favreau. If you're watching any of the Star Wars Mandalorian, you probably wouldn't think the guy that directed Elf was doing that, but he did.
Or Iron
And it's
Man.
or Iron Man, yes, 2003's Elf. First of all, it does one thing in this movie that I think that's always again, you take two classic actors and you put them at different spectrums, and I don't think I would ever thought this. Bob Newhart and James Caan in the same movie. I just think I don't. It was a
Yeah,
stroke
those
of
are his two
genius.
father figures.
Stroke of genius. Stroke of genius to do that. There's stop motion in the film. Uh, there's the whole wonderful downtown New York Macy's kind of scenarios, all the
Well,
windows and
see,
everything.
that's the thing where this is one of the movies that I actually worked on doing the trailer for
Okay.
back in 2002 or whatever. So we're getting this movie in, and it's like, wait a second, there's some parts where there's this guy in tights walking around New York City, and then there's some parts from like the special effects place that's doing stop motion animation and like this fake cheesy background. It's like, how are these things gonna go together? What the hell's this narwhal doing? That's not gonna work.
But it
And
did.
somehow
It did. It
it's
did.
it's like the fantasy of the North Pole and then the reality of New York City, and somehow they're in the same movie.
Of the cold streets of New York, and the guy wearing tights and everything, which we never thought we'd see in New York, except for the 1980s. But this was when they cleaned, Times Square, the rest of the place up. But no, Will Ferrell is, I think, I people will say old school is probably the thing that mostly brought people's attention to Will Ferrell. I like to think Elf is on every year, and
Elf
it
was
is.
the biggest
I
hit.
I think it's the thing that when you think about Will Ferrell and the zaniness that he has, it is quintessentially this is his character Buddy. And one of the absolute asinine scenes that I think I've ever seen in films, and I've always debated on because I think Will Ferrell's crazy enough to do it, but I love the one where he puts the sugar in the cereal and he oversugars it. He's talking about the amount of sugar and it's like, and I thought to myself, like, I almost believe that he probably did eat a bowl full of fucking sugar like that. I'm telling you, I really believe that he did, but but it's like James Caan, here's the guy that's from The Godfather, and
Misery.
he oh, he does a fantastic job with this comedy because he's essentially a straight man, he's essentially a straight man, and there are moments where he loses his mind because Will Ferrell's character is so just like, if there's anybody that has the essence of Christmas, it's Buddy. I love the scene in the department store where he goes, "Yeah, we're gonna do the preparation, and Santa's gonna come." And he says, "Hey, Santa's coming!"
Santa!
And everybody's looking at him like, I know the guy. I know the guy.
It's like, you're
It's
not
just pure
Santa.
magic.
You sit on a throne of lies.
If there is anyone that had to childlike innocence, like Will Ferrell pulls that off in this movie. He is essentially, and let's be honest, without this movie, I just don't think John Favreau gets into where he's at now. Like, I think that he's did a great job of showing range in this film, and I think that without this movie, we probably are, there's no way Disney Plus is going to make as much money on all the Mandalorian things without this film.
And also, you have to go back. This was a low budget studio
Yes.
movie
Hmm.
because they weren't spending. I think probably look it up, but this had to have been like around probably a 30 million budget or something.
Yeah, they
like
weren't
that,
gonna. This is the kind of films that they no longer do in Hollywood. Like, they're
33
not gonna.
million. Damn,
Yeah,
called it.
yeah, they're not gonna do like low budget studio films anymore. They're not gonna take a chance. Either it's gonna be big budget or it's gonna be damn near no budget. But they're not gonna be in the middle grade of it.
But yeah, I mean, he'd
But
done like Swingers
uh huh,
before that. He wrote that
yep.
and starred in it, but he had just started to do movies, and then so they gave him, this is like I think his third or fourth movie, and moved up the budget a little bit. And yeah, from then on, it's like, oh well, Jon Favreau knows what he's doing as a director.
And let's be honest, when they announced him for like Iron Man, he said John Favreau. You were like questioning, like, how's he gonna make this work? Yet that showed us like there's some people that are just filmmakers that are supposed to be in this industry, and they take
Hmm.
their chops and they wait for their times and they do the low budget films and they start building a name for themselves, but they have a bigger story to tell. And that's exactly who John Favreau was. I think that if you underestimated him, you did that at your peril. Because the man is essentially a storyteller. And any film again that's live action has animation, has stop motion, has there was every mixture of like holiday crap that they cram into a movie.
Hmm.
And
And
you know,
Ed Asner as Santa Claus.
which look, you and I both know, he Ed Asner, was not just for this film but also Up. You know, he's he's just essentially he's right for
Hmm.
those kind of things. Again, I think the one thing that most of these movies have, uh, is just great cast with them. I think that's what makes a good Christmas comedy work is that the cast members always have to be just as equally as funny or talented as the people around themselves. And it just works. You can tell when when there's a little bit of fun and like camaraderie with this, and it works out with great cast members, man. So that's any filmmakers out there. Get good cast members. you
Yeah.
know?
No, if you cast correctly,
Hmm.
most of your work is done because
Yeah.
then you just put them with your script in a scene and let them go,
Hmm.
and you'll probably get something good.
Exactly. And Elves fantastic. It's one of those again every year, 20, 30, 40, 50 years long after the retrospect Dr. Brantley and Mr. Storm is gone, they'll probably still be watching Elf and everything. Probably in some kind of, thing piped into their heads by then, or maybe it'll run through the matrix on a battery, whatever, but they'll still be running that.
Hey, do you want to
So
watch Elf? Okay.
yeah.
Oh, that was good.
With that said, we're going to leave us with our final film of the night. And this one, I thought, like, it was one of those when we debated. It was like, this is my Christmas story compared to Dr. Bradley's Christmas story. It's 2004, Tim Allen, Jamie Lee Curtis, Christmas with the Kranks. Now, I didn't see this in a theater. I think I saw this. Maybe that probably would have been maybe the Blockbuster days or something else like that, the dreaded Blockbuster. Now we're quoting things like movies and Blockbuster, things that's just not around, but uh, I thought as a comedy, it was something, it was unexpected. Now I know it's every year is building up a little bit more steam and it's starting to have a major following. I don't know what it did in the box office. I don't think it did incredibly well,
No,
but
Revolution Studios, nothing did very well.
but it served it's a Wonderful Life. That's a commercial failure. It's got longevity on the side, and it's to me it's one of those films where it's like here's two parents that are in the empty nest syndrome and they're waiting for the child to come home, and she says that she's not going to come home, and so they're like, you know what, they're going to do this central thing that I love this movie for. They're like, let's do us. Let's just cancel Christmas. Let's just you and I go on vacation and let's just do something for ourselves. And the his neighborhood are full of just crazy fanatics that just can't let this happen. God forbid that you won't do the annual Christmas thing. And this one also has Dan Aykroyd in it. And I just as a Christmas movie, I understand it. Like you want to do something different, and you're capping content, and like some people are like, I don't want to have the standard Christmas dinner, we're going to do something and it just made sense to me when I saw this that they were like, let's just screw Christmas, let's do something else. And nothing, and I do mean nothing, goes right for them in this film and making this point. But I think it's a zany neighbors. I think Christmas is one of those aspects that more or less people put something on you, not essentially yourself. They're projecting their situation on, and that's exactly what I think this film is for me. Is that it's people's other expectations of what you should do for Christmas is put on someone else. So, what did you feel about
Yeah.
this, Doctor Riley?
Now, I had not seen this movie. In fact, I avoided it for all these 20 years. And it's only because we're doing this that I gave it a watch. And you said it was something that you liked and you watched all the time. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we got here. And uh, I definitely did not like it as much as you did.
Of
Now,
course.
there was one scene that I did die laughing at. I thought it was very well done. It was like Tim Allen, Jamie Lee Curtis at the top of their game. They're in the mall, and he just gets Botox done on his face, and he's trying to eat and have a conversation, but he can't get his mouth to work. And that had me dying. It's very, very good. He's got a little rivalry with a cat across the street.
Mhm.
There's some funny stuff there. And surprisingly, written by John Grisham, known
Oh.
more for the legal thrillers like The
Mhm.
Firm, and so he wrote, I guess, the book that it was based on,
Based off of,
and Christopher Columbus, Chris
obviously.
Columbus, who
Mhm.
uh, directed Home Alone and wrote directed the first Harry Potter movies
Mhm, mhm.
and wrote a bunch of classics like The Goonies, Gremlins,
On and
so
on.
he wrote the screenplay for this. And, it does have that kind of feeling to it. It didn't make me laugh that much. It was I don't know if it was maybe a little too hard trying, or if it just was not really trying to go for laughter at the beginning. It was more
Mhm,
just sort
mhm.
of trying to be homey and know the characters or anything. But
Well, it
it
does
wasn't
kinda
until
ramp
like the
up.
midpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, it does kinda ramp up. It's kinda like you think it's just a run of the mill kinda, and then it goes this, like, deep extreme, and you're like, "What the heck?" And they're like, sun tanning and all these recipes. It starts off where it's like, "Oh, it's gonna be just this wholesome Christmas movie," and then it just goes out of nowhere, and it's unexpected, so it is a lot to take in. I think, yeah, Tim Allen is like, I think he doesn't get as much credit as possible. He's extremely funny in most of the stuff he does, and when he really puts his time and effort into it, it just comes out amazing. Jamie Lee Curtis is equally as someone who can do drama and do comedy. She does it well. And again, Dan Aykroyd's in this movie. There's so many great cameos, so many zany scenarios. There's a stealing of a Christmas tree from neighbor's house. It's so many things that pop into this film, and I think it was, it's fitting that this was the last film on the list because it's probably the closest, and out of 2004 when it was released, it's hit or miss if any of these other films had they're now we're moving into the Hallmark stage where a lot of films are just they're doing Hallmark Christmas in July, Hallmark 24-hour Christmas channel, Hallmark, and
Hmm.
so I think this was the last like major theater production and timing because now it's like now everything's like micro budgets and everything run through Hallmark Lifetime. Now I've even noticed that NBC has started to run those and CBS and all through last year through the streamers. So it's I think it's a fitting end to our comedy Christmas films. It's a hit or miss. Again, I know some people that love this film, and I know some people are like, yeah, it's debatable. I think it's one that will, like all the other lists on the list, will be something that you go back and watch. But again, this is just
But
our
it's a
opinion.
sweet movie. It's not
It has a central point.
it doesn't have like any mean-spiritedness
Yes.
to it like a bad Santa does. It
Yeah.
is a family movie that you can
Mhm.
watch with your kids or whatever.
And, and
Uh,
and I think that's the aspect. Other than Bad Santa, most of these films, look, we all know that you're going to be sitting on the holidays. Some of us with people that we despise, some of us with people that we love. And either or whatever group you're in, you could either turn something on to be entertaining yourself or as a general turn on. So what we're saying is like, sit down, take a look at these films again, sit with family and friends, or if you just want to tune out somebody, turn the movie on and tune them out. But it's their movies that made us laugh. There's some highs and some lows. Hopefully will make you laugh as well. Any parting words on the Christmas comedy films Mr. Brantley? Was there just one that stands out as your primo number one, that if you had to watch one out of all these films, you would watch it for the rest of your life and never need another film?
No.
Okay, okay.
um,
Well,
Probably either Christmas Story or Scrooged,
okay,
maybe.
okay.
Uh,
I think
but
if I had to pick one out of this, if I said like I'm trapped in an endless loop, and the one film that I can watch this Christmas is I'm trapped in Christmas. Maybe Christmas Vacation. I think I could just, it would. I think I could watch that on an endless loop, and I think I'd be okay with it. I think I could still laugh at every scene and everything because it's just so outlandish. You know. Well, we got the Christmas ones now. We're going to tell you this retrospect and everything. Again, our taglines: we watch the film so you don't have to, but we hope that you do. If you love what we did and you thought this was a great topic and Christmas is getting in, you're like, yeah, I think these guys are dead on. If you hated what we said and you thought these movies were bad and you just want to interject your point, go right ahead, put it in the comments, let us know. We love the comments. I was our main editor monitor was saying like, man, it's like the comments is the thing that he enjoys the most. We read all of our comments ourselves. They send it to us, we go over it, we review them, and we get back. But I definitely love people's opinions if you think we're right or wrong. And we have such a great community of people that watch this with us, and I love the interaction that goes with it. So definitely let us know. We were hit and miss. And again, if you have any films that you thought were great, drop them in the comments. Let us know which is your essential films that you're watching this time of year, and maybe might reflect, and we might actually watch those. So, any parting words for the Christmas comedies?
watch them and have fun while you're wrapping presents, and throw them away until next year. You just don't have to worry about any of these movies until next December.
So, if you enjoyed the Christmas comedies, but Christmas is not the thing that you're really up for, and you just want some good old classic horrors, where there's four previous retrospects that were Halloween versions of classic movie monsters. And I know that we have some of our top 10 shorts that'll be coming out for Christmas. The classics and the animated. So we've got a fester. I think we've got one more to do for the Christmas wrap up, and it's going to be the one that I think we were all essentially looking forward to. Is one, Christmas films that people don't naturally think are Christmas movies, but we've got reaction lovers, Christmas action films. So that's another retrospect for that. So as usual, we thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe. That algorithm is a Christmas terror. I would say the algorithm is the Grinch of the year. So, if you like it, share the video, let other people know. We thank everyone for watching. Uh, Dr. Brentley, it's always a pleasure.